Duolingo. What if I told you that one of the best ways to learn languages on your phone with more than 128 million active users is also one of the hottest stocks in the stock market. So yes, Duolingo has actually sold more than 200% from its IPO and is today one of the most discussed stocks in Twitter and on YouTube. But this is more than just a fun app with a green owl. This is actually one of the most prominent players in the education tech industry, and today is actually reaching hundreds of millions or even 1 billion users. I'm Eddie for Tokyo Alpha Mind, and today we are going to make a deep dive into Duolingo stock, Duolingo financial growth prospects, and also the risk for Duolingo with AI, and see if Duolingo has a real place in your portfolio. So let's get started. So Duolingo has been very trendy on the social media lately, mainly because we have real influencer or finance YouTuber like Joseph Carson or financial education discuss this talk, and there is a huge actually divide between the bears and the bulls, and I think that's what makes a very interesting story, and that's why today we are talking about Duolingo. So we will just have a quick review of the argument of Joseph Carson of why he thinks that Duolingo is actually a good stock, and then we will review what's the business model of Duolingo and actually what's the valuation today, and actually what do we think about Duolingo. Is it a good stock in your portfolio? This is a battle between bull and between bears on Duolingo. So actually Duolingo is actually stuck into this I would say crossfire between the fact that they are growing very well today, but they're also kind of a threat, or they kind of threatened, I would say, by all these new AI tools and new AI capabilities, especially from OpenAI and Google. Today, the tweet that we are looking at is a tweet by Joseph Carson, basically reiterating his bullish thesis on Duolingo, while financial education, so basically Jeremy, is actually short on this Duolingo stock. And what he's saying is that, okay, so he understood Jeremy's argument, and basically he's basically reiterating why he's still very long Duolingo. And I think that Duolingo is very interesting because it really reveals that there are this kind of stock that are going to be winners or losers against AI. And I think that Duolingo today, this is not very clear. On this one, I wouldn't be short because I think that the game has not been decided yet. I think we need to see more from Duolingo on how they are going to actually go beyond the use of basically Google or OpenAI in terms of AI. I think that today one of the key for Duolingo to actually win is being able to engage users into their community and engage users basically to use the app more and more rather than just going into Google, Gemini or OpenAI ChatGPT. Then if we want to go a little bit deeper into Duolingo and understand how they make money, so actually Duolingo has 3 ways they are making money. So the first way is actually subscription. So they are making the money by actually having subscription model. They're actually a freemium model, meaning that there's a free tier and there's a subscription tier. And basically they are converting all these free users, so they have more than 128 million monthly active users, and they have around 20 million paid users, so actually subscription, that are paying every month. And so that's the first one. They have actually 2 types of subscription. They have the Super Duolingo and they have the Duolingo Max. The difference between the two is that the Super Duolingo actually gives you no ads and actually more hearts to actually have a better experience when you learn, and to give you more actually time to be able to use the app. And so basically what are hearts? Hearts are actually your life in the game, and so it gives you more chances to make mistakes and to be able to use the app longer every single day. The second way Duolingo is making money is through ads. Obviously, we have seen that there is a free tier, and actually they have such a huge user base that they can monetize even the free tier, and so that's why they are having a very great increase of ads revenue. So they are not actually forced to actually convert all the different paid users to a subscription model, but they can actually monetize these users through ad revenues. The third way Duolingo is making money is through in-app purchases. So yes, thanks to the gamification of their platform, there are a lot of additional add-ons that can be purchased through the app, and that's how actually they generate additional revenue. So as we've seen, there are these 3 types of revenues in their business model: so subscription, ads, and in-app purchase, which actually makes it a very good business model, I think, for a platform that can scale to hundreds of millions of users. Basically, Duolingo is like the Netflix of edtech or language learning, if we can say, and there is a lot of optionality, and I think that's why a lot of finance YouTubers and a lot of people like the stock today. But let's review the valuation to see if it makes sense today to to actually invest into Duolingo, and if the stock is not too expensive given this popularity. So what we have seen from Duolingo in their latest quarterly earnings report is that they have actually increased their monthly active users by 24%, and it has reached today 128 million users. So in terms of daily active users, so we have seen the daily active users number grow by 40% and reaching today almost 48 million users. And more importantly, the paid users, so basically the people who are paying for the premium feature for Duolingo, has grown plus 37% to almost 11 million users. So you are seeing that Duolingo is actually growing very fast. Then in terms of operating metrics, so what we are looking at is that subscription bookings actually went to 227 million, growing 45%, and the total bookings growing to 268 million, growing 41%. So still a lot of growth for Duolingo. And how does it translate in terms of financial for Duolingo? So what we are looking at in terms of revenue, we have a growth of 41%. In terms of gross profit for Duolingo, it's very similar because it's a tech company, so plus 39%, sorry. And in terms of net income, so 84%, so Duolingo is actually growing very fast its profit. And in terms of adjusted EBITDA and free cash flow, so we have seen that adjusted EBITDA for Duolingo today is around 78 million, growing 64%, and very similarly to free cash flow. So we are seeing the free cash flow of Duolingo reaching 86 million, growing 61%. Just as a reminder also, so Duolingo is a 15 billion market cap company today, and actually it has a free cash flow margin of around 34%, which is actually pretty good, and this really shows that Duolingo is a tech company. And in terms of valuation, so if we look at the next 12 months valuation, so today in terms of P ratio, it's not really good to be honest, but because it's around 87, but Duolingo is growing very fast, and basically they are actually nascent in terms of profitability. In terms of PEG ratio, so we are around 1.8, which is actually slightly expensive, but this is still reasonable for a company which is growing very fast. In terms of EV to sales, so we are around 13, and in terms of price to free cash flow, which is actually very good for a company growing 41%, which is 36.1. So we are seeing that Duolingo has actually a very reasonable valuation for a company growing that fast at plus 41% today. So in terms of numbers, I think that everything is great for Duolingo. Okay, so what's the investment thesis for Duolingo? So basically, Duolingo should be seen as a Netflix of language learning, meaning that it will capture a bigger and bigger like free user base, and will be able to actually continue to transform all these different users into paid users. And so I think that that's the bull case for Duolingo, if we look at it, meaning that they are going to continue to grow and they're going to continue to be able to convert a lot of different users. And what really matters is actually not that users actually learn the language that they want to learn, but much more than they are continuing to be subscribed. And I think that a lot of people, they actually like being subscribed to Duolingo and knowing that they have this support in their language learning, even though that they're not really focusing on learning completely the language. I think that's kind of the bull case, the fact that people are lazy. It's the same type of bull case as Uber or DoorDash, for example. But really, I think that there is a lot of potential for Duolingo, given that a lot of people actually like the fact that this is kind of easy of access and that they can actually use it and just sometimes also pay and forget it. And I think that this is kind of a mental support on top of the growth of the user base. So what we can expect as well from Duolingo is obviously to actually go beyond the language field. So they've already done that with math, they've already done that with chess, but I think that there are so many things that they can actually develop. So there is a lot of optionality for Duolingo, and I think that this is a big actually point for their bull case, because this means that they still have a lot of potential to grow, and they have a lot of optionality to actually become bigger as a platform. And I think a lot of people are missing that. They are focusing mainly on the language learning, not the fact that this is actually a leader in terms of edtech. Another key aspect of the bull case for Duolingo or the investment thesis is that this is supposed to be a very profitable company, because there is not so much investment to actually develop the platform to be made. And I think that with the growth, with the paying subscribers, they will definitely become very profitable as a business. And we will see, just like Netflix, like they're going to continue to grow, and their cash flow is going to continue to grow very fast and very exponentially, I would say. And so I think this will surprise a lot of people, but I think that in a few years, Duolingo could really actually surprise a lot of people through their cash flow and the fact that they're actually going to show that they can be a very profitable company, especially because the business actually is very simple in terms of actually investment. Another catalyst for Duolingo is as well the fact that they're going to be able to continue to grow internationally, because there are a lot of people who want to learn English, even though that Duolingo has actually developed to actually help people learn other languages like French, Italian, but actually like, there are a lot of demand for English learning, and I think that there are more than 1 billion people on this planet that are trying to learn English, especially in Asia. And I think that they're going to have this opportunity to expand globally and especially in Asia, and I think that this will benefit them tremendously. So in terms of risk for Duolingo, obviously I think that everybody has in mind AI and the fact that players like Google or OpenAI are actually developing their own tool to guide learning for different people. And we have seen already with Google Translate that Google has already developed this type of app. But I think that Duolingo has this gamification really well entrenched into the app, and they have already such a user base. I think people are still going to rely on Duolingo. But definitely, I think that the fact that a lot of different AI tools are going to come to the market, especially from big leaders like Google and OpenAI, is going to slow down a little bit the growth of Duolingo. But I think that this will impact much more the free tier of their user base rather than the paid tier, because I think people who are actually paying really want the Duolingo experience. So we are talking a lot about the risk of AI for Duolingo, but what if we look more into it and if we see that actually AI can be a very big opportunity for Duolingo, because this will increase the appeal of the Duolingo app by explaining the different answers, by explaining why the answers are like they are, and giving more context to the user. So it will also help a much better experience in terms of learning and in terms of guidance, especially from the app. So actually AI can be a big opportunity to make the Duolingo product much better. Okay, so what's my take on Duolingo? So actually I am quite divided towards Duolingo, because yes, on the one side, it's actually a very good business. I think it can be very profitable, as we've seen. So in the slide, there is a lot of cash flow generation, not a lot of capex required to grow the business. They have a huge user base already, and they can still grow this user base very significantly. There's also a lot of optionality in the business, meaning that they can go beyond just language learning. They can actually go into math, they can go into chess, as we've seen already, music, but there are a lot of things that people want to learn today. And I think that with this type of gamification, so yes, there is a lot of optionality in the business of Duolingo. As with Netflix, there are a lot of opportunities for Duolingo to actually extend the platform and extend the type of services and type of gamification that they are doing with learning today. So I think that they have a lot of growth potential, definitely, with their current business model. And the fact that it is a very profitable business model, I think makes it a very attractive stock. And we've seen that there is a lot of growth already. In terms of valuation, so the valuation is actually quite high at the moment, even though that it can be justified by the growth that they have today. So I think that on this part, this is a stock that is deserving to actually be deep dive a little bit deeper, meaning that it is a very interesting stock, at least for me. Now, considering the fact that there is a huge risk with AI, and there's a huge risk that big players like OpenAI and Google are going to get into the education space with their own products, is actually a real risk and a real threat for Duolingo. Wow, so we've seen Google with Google Translate actually going into the space, revamping their app, and to try to actually get the share on the learning side and the education. And I think that they're going to continue to push toward this direction, and same thing for OpenAI, because this is actually a huge market, as we've seen with Duolingo analysis. And I think that Google and OpenAI, they will want to develop products geared toward learning, because this is where AI and all their different models are very good at. So I think definitely they will want to actually reach much more users, and I think that it will slow down the growth of Duolingo. And given the setup today for Duolingo, I think this is very risky to get into this stock, having a lot of expectation of growth, where the growth is going to be tempered down by these big players. So I think that today, this stock, Duolingo, is a watch and see stock, and we should actually just look at how things develop. There is no need to actually get into the stock very heavily today. Even though there is a lot of potential, we have to be sure that this potential is going to be realized in the future, especially at this valuation. So if you're interested in an analysis like this one, please check my other videos. Please tell me what you think about Duolingo in the comments. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in another one. Bye.